Alright, so welcome to the next part. So what I've done is I have taken the studs and all that off the top of the engine. And I've taken a few of the bits and pieces except for the timing chain. So the head is ready to come off. I found the rear end of it a bit oily. There's a lot of oil that came out of the studs and the front end was bone dry. Now again, that's not cause for concern in that way, but by right, there should be sort of no oil because it's its own separate channel, so it makes me think that there's oil getting somewhere it shouldn't do. But again, I don't think the car was leaking oil or burning oil, but I could be wrong as well. It could have been, and maybe the owner wasn't too sure of it. But yeah, either way, now the stud's all off, it's time to take the head off. So let's see what's going on inside. So I have hopefully the camera looking down that you can actually see a good one on it. I will take it off. But with all them studs out, all the way across, there's absolutely no studs holding it. Like if it wasn't for it being fixed in place, I'd be able to just rotate it. So what do I use to take it off? I use one of these. It's just a little scraper / chisel. I think it's more used for like drywall or boards or something like that, to actually pop it off. I just do it because it has a nice little clean sharp edge or end to it, and it allows me to get in here without actually taking chunks off it. I've used all sorts over the years, but like I didn't take the studs out, and believe me, it's hard when you're trying to get that pressure, the studs that are off, to lift it up. Believe me, it makes a big difference. So let's crack this engine open for the first time in like 50 odd years. So I won't need to do too much for it. I just have to get in at the gasket in the corner. So it's either go above the gasket or below it, one or the other. And once there it goes. So I don't know if you can see, it's starting to go now. So I never want to go too far across because there should be no problem at all. I've done it when the studs are in it and it gets stuck, but I only want to I'm only trying to crack the seal on it, that's it. As I go along, obviously, I'm not sure where it's going. It's obviously pushing the gasket somewhere. Now it just becomes so much easier to go around it. I barely have to touch it, so like it's literally ready. I can pick it up already. So, oh, there we go, just like that. And that's the easiest way I find to take the head off. So as I said, you don't even have to pull it, you can just rotate it, so now I don't have to lift it. And Alright, let's put that down there. We'll come back to that in a minute. We'll come back and have a look at it. So let's look at what we're dealing with here. Hopefully the camera doesn't turn off. Unfortunately I can't take the camera off because the battery's dead. But if I come into here, actually, it doesn't look that bad. Hang on, let me change the camera around. I'm going to pay it. There we go. So just for now, but you can see where I was saying with the oil. Some of them here, you can see the oil has come in here, which makes me think somewhere in the middle here, the oil was starting to seep out and gather up the front. It's all dry on this side. If I come back a bit. The heads themselves are pretty even in the way of that it's the same discoloration sort of all the way across. Apart from this side, a little bit of a higher burn. There's obviously oilier here, but so far I don't see any massive lunar craters, to say the word. You seem to be okay. So the next thing I'm going to look at straight away is making sure that they're both the same. Like these are the same, this and this is the same, this one and this one's the same. Because I have taken the head off one time and I said, what's the difference? And 1 and 6 are completely opposite, which means it was completely smashed. But in general, it looks okay. I'm trying to look at the arrows, at least they're all facing the same direction. Because I'm trying to see, in all honesty, at any point was this taken off, without the owner knowing about it. It could have gone in for some work and you could have taken the head off and not actually said it, or got done and he forgotten about it. It could have been done while it was still in the shop before it ever got sold. So you just never know. I try to say that you just never know what's going on. I can feel the indentations for the where it's been recessed. So I'm just trying to see. Yeah, everything looks pretty okay. So let's have a look at the head and see. Whoop, let's roll it back and have a good look at this one. So where does it stand out? You can see this one is awful white. And that's the intake. So I want to say that was probably, if I'm correct, pretty rich. So I was running richer at the front end and the rear. But the only thing I'll say is that if you look at the exhaust ones and all that, they're pretty consistent all the way down. Sorry, my shadow's in the way. But they're pretty consistent, which is good. Not too much build-up. There's a bit of build-up on this one here. But again, not too much considering. But overall, actually, it's not bad. Considering the years, nothing stands out. But again, we won't know until we get all the valves out and check and make sure there's no cracks in between. Because you can easily get a crack between the valves and not see it until it's out and it's all cleaned up because the carbon builds up in there. But nothing is really standing out as anything major, which is good. Because as far as I know, it's still a running engine. But you can see it's starting to catch up in itself. Obviously, the gasket's going to have to eventually come off, peel off. It's going to take a good bit of scraping to get that off. But yeah, overall, that's pretty decent. So looking at the channels, I drained the coolant, the rest of the coolant, I pulled the drain plugs to get the rest of the coolant out of the block. I'm going to take all the tappets out. Yeah, that's really it. So like, obviously these are all going to get changed. But yeah, no surprises there. So at least I can go back to the owner and say this is how I found it, this is what it looked like. So obviously move on now, we'll flip it upside down, we'll take the bottom off, and then we'll start disconnecting and actually pulling all the pistons out. Once that's out and all the timing's out, the block is pretty much ready to send off to the machine shop. It will all get cleaned up there. It will come back. And when it comes back, I'll grind it a bit more when it comes back, and I'll be able to see the lettering to see if I can actually see it. I can definitely see the A there. You can see that as clear as anything. There's an A, and I see a B right here. And I think the third lettering is, because one of them has 3 of them, and then I'll have 3 here. When the early models, it will show 1 per cylinder as you go along. Stretched out finger there for these gloves. So somewhere up here, you're going to be able to see it as well. But again, I'm not too worried about it for now. All this is going to get changed. All the cover plugs and everything's going to pop off. It is, I know it looks wet here, but that's only because of the coolant. The bottom end should be okay. Yeah. So anyway, that's it. So I will throw some high speed on as usual as I go to strip the head of the engine. To be honest, apart from the gasket, I leave that. I send it off to the machine shop with all the parts, and they pull all the valves and do all this, everything, so on and so forth. I can take all the valves out if I really want to have it inspected, but to be honest, it makes not much of a difference because I'm just doing work that he's going to do anyway. So like, I just leave it the machine shop to work on the head. That's it. So that will get done. And yeah, so let's roll on some high speed and start stripping this rest of this engine now, ready to go to the machine shop. So let's get on with it. Alright, welcome back. So the engine is now stripped. So I've taken the crank out and all that jazz, and everything looks okay. However, you don't just want to take what you see. Sometimes you have to skim the top to see what's really going on. So now that's all apart, I can actually dig in and see, is there anything in particular going on that may lead to what was going to happen, what was in the process of happening, and so on and so forth. And that can be a number of different things we can do. For example, we can measure, even though we're going to get this machined, we want to measure the cylinders in the way of the taper, so on and so forth, like how round it is and all, just because I want to see how much swelling was going on in there to make sure that if we do machine it, that we're actually going to go the right size. There's no point in machining this to 20 thou over when the swelling was too big and there's not enough room there. So going 40 should be pretty fine, which most likely what we're going to do with it. But we want to see what was going on. The engine itself looks fine. I didn't see any score marks or anything going on in the cylinders, in the sleeves, so that was good. Same as the can. The camshaft looked absolutely fine, apart from measuring to see if it's worn down, to see if it's worth putting back in or just replacing. That's one thing. Even the crank, absolutely nothing wrong with it. No scores, no marks, nothing like that. Even the bearings were all original, and it didn't even show too much copper in it, so they weren't worn down too much. So you can see, even if this was done, the bearings are changed a long time ago for like original, not the ones you get now because they're stamped, you can still see that it was pretty good. However, there is one thing that caught my attention, and it's unusual because I've never seen it. And again, this is a telltale sign of movement. And it was actually the thrust washers, and here they are here. Now, I hope that I can zoom in enough that you can actually see it, or if it focuses enough. Let me turn the camera around because then I can actually show you. So I will. I might as well show you the engine. So you can see all the sleeves are pretty good. There's no telltale marks. There's no black lines anywhere along it to say that there was oil getting up and the way the rings had gone. But again, I'll inspect the pistons as I go along as well. Thrust washer. Now, it looks pretty okay in one piece. The oil grooves look okay. They're not worn down. But look at this. Hang on, let me put it down so I can zoom in. So you can see it's cracked right here at the end of this. And that's not from, that's pitted. So that means at some stage, one or two things I reckon my suggestion has happened. One is that I ran low on oil and I got pretty hot in there. And this bore the brunt because that almost looks like it's a heat stress crack and not an impact. But also this looks like it's worn down a lot more here. So if you follow the grooves, it's worn down there. Even if I turn it around, you can see where it's dirty, and then all of a sudden it's shaved. So it's pretty shaved there, and you can see the score marks. So that would tell me that the crankshaft was wobbling, like going left to right, because that'd be putting pressure on it. So what could cause that? One is the main bearings, which means if the main bearings are wearing down, you're getting too much play, you can cause that. One is the shear imbalance of the front from the crank, like your where the damper is and where your fan is. So if that was really imbalanced, that would rattle the life out of it. The other one wasn't too bad. It wasn't as bad in the way that I didn't know it was anything. The one was bad. You can still see a little bit of scoring, but it wasn't nowhere near in the way of damage as the other one. So one certainly took the brunt. And I forget which one it was, because when I just dropped the two of them, I took it out, the two of them came out, and I couldn't actually see which was on top and which was on the bottom. But yeah, it's little telltale signs like that that make you think of what's actually going on. So because of that, that will lead me to simply make sure that all the journals on the crank are done, but like all the way through, big ends and mains, all the way through, just to cut out that, because that just looks like wear and tear. Now again, if that hasn't been changed in 50, 60 years, eventually it's going to go. And like I said, it could simply just be heat, but it's on both sides. So there's one side, there's the other side that's pitted and spalted, and you can see it chipping off. So again, that could be a vibration, and it could also be caused by overheating, which means low on oil and it's got hot. It's a weaker metal to say, got hot, and it didn't take much vibration to crack it after that. So it could be one or the other, but that's my theory on it. Again, will you ever fully know? No. But it just gives me an idea to confirm that the crankshaft is going out, that's for sure. So we can try to eliminate any of that process, regardless how I measure it. If I'm only measuring it from one point, then it could be an imbalance on the actual journal. So you can measure one side and be fine, but the opposite end is off, and then that can still cause vibration. So again, that's only me guessing what it may be. So yeah, that's at that end. As I says, the crank and the cam looked absolutely fine. There's no signs of any spalling damage or anything on them. So all I have to do is measure the cam to see how much plays and to see if it's okay. Maybe we'll put a new one in it. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not too much money. If you're going to go this far to stripping it, if a part is in there for 50 years, you think it's going to go back in and last another 50 and last 100 years? That's a tall order. I'd rather replace it. It's one thing with the crank that gets smoothed down, but like the cam does take a rolling, like it rolls off something, so therefore it wears down compared to the journals. So I honestly replace it, but that's another day's conversation. The only thing left to do with this is to take the frost plugs out. I don't have to do it now. I can wait until it actually comes back from the machine shop when it's all clean, and then I can take them out, because I like to try paint it first and then put them in before I paint it, so I have a nice, again, a cleanliness to them. Everything else seems pretty okay. If you notice in the videos, I actually put the main carriers back on, because when it goes to the machine shop, they need them in order to hold it in the housing while they actually work on it. So if you're wondering why I put them back in, there's a little bit of mark there. I'm pretty sure that might have been me with the screwdriver, just to get the bearing out, or get the thing out. Let's see if I can get this to come out. I may or may not want it, because there we go. So looking at the mains, there's no signs of brassing. You can see they're original because you have the original stamp on them. The original numbers, if you can see. Because the newer ones will actually be stamped, instead of a number, they're stamped STD for standard, or points 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, and so on and so forth. So that's how you know they're original ones, which is good. If these are originals, the first ever ones in there, and they're like that, that means there's not much on this engine. So, but I said we're going to, that's all the gasket there, we're going to clean out. So there's a lot of crap around it, and yeah. But when it goes to the machine shop, I'll get this off before it goes, and then I'll clean it up afterwards. When it comes back clean, I'll actually machine it and get it all smooth and all that jazz. So anyway, that's it. That's it for this little part. Let's walk in and have a look at the pistons. As you can see, no signs of there's no signs of wear in them. The rings all look okay. None of them are broken or cracked. Obviously, again, the minute I take them off, I keep them together so I know which numbers are which, because you can't guarantee, even though they're supposed to be marked here, like that's number 1. This one should be marked 1, usually here. But sometimes it's somewhere else. Sometimes it's a little dot or a stamp. Let me see which it is. Like this one's number, upside down, this is number 5. So there should be a number 5 on this somewhere, and it's usually on the exact same side. I can see it there actually, but turn it around, you can actually see it scored into there. Sorry, just my fingers. I'm trying to do everything at the same time here. It's a big number 5 here. Don't know if you can see it, but it's not down here. It's a big massive one here, the same size as this one. So I've never seen it that way. Usually it's a little small number on the flat surface, or sometimes it's a dimple. They'll put dimples on it to represent the numbers. Clutch is completely shot. Well, I say shot, it's worn down completely. That certainly won't be going back in. Same as the water pump. That gets changed anyway, but it's pretty rusted because, again, it's set for years, so obviously just sitting there didn't help us. So like, that's another thing as well. When the engine sits for so long, you can have a car sitting for 5+ years, 10, and start up and start driving. It seems driving fine, but remember, you have all this that's going to be in there, and that's just going to run around the system. So like, it will catch up with itself, and you'll have that cloggingness and so on. So like, it's hard. The only way to do it is to take it all apart and flush it, but it's a long process. It's a lot of money. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for this part. What we'll do is I'm going to get all these done and cleaned up and get ready for the machine shop on Tuesday. Today is Sunday, so because I'm not here tomorrow, so Tuesday to go to the machine shop. And then I will start moving on to the car itself, because the wiring harness is going to come out, so I'm going to take the wiring harness off. That means the dashboard and everything has to come off. And then we're going to have a look around all the suspension and brakes and check all that out. That's it. Windscreen's coming out as well. So there's a new windscreen on the way. If that comes out, we're going to whip that out and put a new one in. Yeah. And if I get time, it's a shame. It's a shame it's not the summertime. I know it's winter. Because I would have liked to wash the engine bay while it's still here. But it's absolutely freezing out, so like it's not worth doing. But we'll clean up as best we can. And like I said, get rid of some of the stuff like the fuel filter and all that. And certainly I'm going to look over I'm getting the it's going to be a 3-piece clutch anyway. That's going to go to this. So that's going to get replaced either way. But again, like I said, I always check the fork. Always check it while it's off. Do it while it's off. It can save you thousands if anything goes wrong if you don't look after it or look at it. Alright, join me in the next part and we'll hopefully be starting to strip out all the bits and pieces from the interior, taking the dash and the wire now. So see you in the next part. Alright, welcome back. So, we're going to move on to the wiring. We're going to take the whole wiring harness out, but obviously one of the most important things to take out is the dashboard because all the wiring mainly goes through there. There is other parts we'll have to remove. Sometimes you can get away with not pulling the panel or the soft top off. You can get away with that by pulling it up and just sneaking in behind. And that I'll show you. It's not necessarily a trick. It's just how much you can bend and get away with it without actually removing it. However, the best thing to do is actually to fully remove the soft top because you have to by right remove one of the side panels. Anyway, it's a whole different thing, and we'll get into that further in the video. Right now, we're going to go back to the dashboard. I know a lot of people like the video on removing the dashboard. So if you haven't watched it, I do have a video on how to remove the dashboard, what to look for at the back of it, and how to actually remove it. However, let's go over it all again. So it seems a shame because this dashboard Alright, welcome back. Now we're going to move on to the dashboard. Why are we moving on to the dashboard? Well, the wiring harness is coming out, so we're going to have to remove the dashboard either way because we have to change it. We're going to put some LEDs in and so on. Now, I'm not going to lie, I feel a little bad because I feel like this dashboard has never been off the car. It's never been taken off. This is the first time it's come off since the day it got put on in the factory. Again, not many cars do that. I know a lot of cars can go through owners and pass it on and some never change it, but usually at some point in their life, somebody's taking the dashboard off because it's the one thing everybody wants to change. Because to me, it doesn't make a difference on the outside. The outside is when you look at it and you see it from a distance. But when you're inside it, the dashboard is what makes the car. That's what you see and that's what your driving experience is. So when you look at your platform here, it has to be nice. And that's what you have to enjoy as a driving experience. So there's a difference between outside what you see in and inside. You can have two completely different cars. It may not match color-wise inside to outside, but as an owner and driver, you can only see one at a time. So you're either looking at the inside or you're looking at the outside. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to take the dashboard off and we're going to take it's so clean looking like this because it hasn't been touched. Yes, it's burned from the sun over the years, but it's pretty clean. So I'm going to take it all off. Now, if you haven't seen, I do have a video on removing the dashboard. There is a video I have on what to look for prior to removing it and what's basically hidden behind the dashboard. Because you can't just take the 5 screws off and pull it off. It doesn't work that way. But if you haven't seen it, I suggest you go look at it. It gives you an idea of what I'm doing prior to this. But the only one sticky thing I'll find is actually the light switch. Because most likely, the light switch will still have that little plastic retainer bezel, let's say the word, that keeps it in there and stops it moving out. So that's the only thing I may struggle with. And I'll have to get out and get underneath for that. Because yeah, that sort of locks it in. It locks it in through the metal as well, so you can pull it out. Anyway, we'll cross that bridge. So let's go through the whole process again. So when we start off removing the dashboard, we have to remove our 2 main gauges first. Either way, they have to come out. I always start with the RPM, and I finish with the RPM because it has the least amount of wiring going to it. The least amount, so therefore it's easier to put on last and easier to do because it gives you the extra room. Obviously I'm going to take the hazard switch off. I'm going to unwind this. This looks like it might have been off before because it's broke. I don't know if you can see it, but it's broke. So spring is missing as well. So yeah, I'm going to replace that one now. Let me see what's in the ashtray. Maybe not. I don't think you want to see what's in there. It's not clean. So I usually make a puddle of stuff on the floor somewhere. Alright, so once you get that off, you don't have to do anything with that. That's screwed into the actual metal plate and that's it. So where I want to start is the RPM. So if I put my hand in, around and up, I'm going to feel a bundle of everything. And what I'm looking for, and oh sorry, safety feature, please make sure you disconnect your battery before you do any of this. Because even though the ignition may be off, there's live wires and you could cross and blow fuses or so on and so forth. So it's always best to disconnect the battery before you do the dash. So that's a safety warning. Anyway, as I reach up, what's in my way first of all is the lamp, the courtesy lamp. That's the first thing I feel. It sits in the way. Other than that, I'll reach up and I'll start feeling, well, basically bulbs. So pop the bulbs out as best you can. You should get to one of the retainers, which is, it's a little small screw and it has, well, it's hard to explain. I'm about to take it off here. I'm unwinding it. You don't have to see it. It's always hard to put it back on because you have to almost go underneath and look. When you take it off, you don't have to because you just let it fall. So the first part is this. It's basically just a clamp. So as you screw, it basically pushes against the metal and it pulls the dash, pulls this in. And it puts the final adjustment on it as well. So just remember as well, what I found is these are almost weird. It's like they're threaded when they're made because they don't all fit each other. They're all supposed to be the same thread, the same size. And usually it's the large one for the large gauges and small for the small. But like sometimes you mix and match and you'll pick up a different gauge and pick up a different retaining screw or nut, whatever you want to call it, and it doesn't fit. So usually when you take the gauge off, the best thing to do is screw it back onto it so you don't lose and get mixed up. Otherwise, you can find yourself, if you have spares, with a bundle of them. Plus, you get pretty lost easy. So I'm going to reach up and I'm popping some bulbs out. So the bulbs I'll pop out first is the oil and the ignition. So they're the lower end. I reach up a little further, wiggle my way up, and I can feel the tack cable. So I'll unscrew that. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. That's unwound. I will feel, if I go to the very left and right, there is the lights for the markers, which is the illumination ones. Now, don't pull by the wire. You have to get your hand on the metal and keep rattling it. It's a push fit. Spring load, like, but if you can't, don't worry. Once you unscrew them comes out, you'll actually see them. I'm leaning over because I'm trying to get to the top end. I'm trying to get to the other screw. It's like opposite. If one of them is down the bottom right, the other one's at the top left. They're not exactly right in the middle, like an equator line. They're actually offset at an angle. I never looked to see what kind of angle. I don't think it's 45. But they're not exactly one across and the other. So one's usually top corner and the other one is bottom corner on the opposite side. So I almost have this off. Once you get the tack cable and the two screws off, I'm going to lose something. It's going to fall down somewhere. I still have it in my hand. I tried to grab it and I didn't hear it fall, so it's there somewhere. Once you get them off, you can actually push it out. So give it a little wiggle, especially if you hasn't been out, because I can guarantee there's a lot of years of there. Now, the important thing about done with that is I put my hand on the board and pushed it. If you don't, you're going to crack the board because it's obviously going to want to pull and crack it, and that could be a reason why a lot of them break as well. Is the original seal has sweltered, heated up, sweated, so therefore after all these years has literally stuck to the board. So you're trying to break that seal. If you can twist it, great, but it's the exact same thing. It's easy just to push and actually put your hand on the board and push the opposite direction until you break that. Now when it comes out, you can see. Obviously with the wires are here. Now I'm going to cheat. I got a flat head and put it behind. Because usually you pop out pretty easy. There you go. Usually pop out pretty easy. So if you haven't seen them before, a late model will have a green illumination. I don't know what you want to call this thing. You can change them. Usually when I put LEDs in, I usually actually get rid of them. If you open it up, you can actually just grind this off and you pop off. They're like little rivets. Because the LEDs usually go in a little further than the green. Now say green, early ones are blue, these are green. If you want a nice clear one, then absolutely. Just when you take this off, and I'll do a video on how to take the gauges apart. You're just going to grind this off, remove the green, and that will leave it open to be actually able to put a white bulb in, and will illuminate white instead. It'll be so bright. Because as much as we do them green, these are not green. They're clear. These are green. But they're so dull you can't tell the difference. Like, to be honest, like you can't see squat. That's why it's usually best to put LEDs in. But I usually put green LEDs in here just so they're all of a match. And I'm not going to lie. I hate it. I don't like the green. I only do it because they're original. So when I do the P6P, obviously it's going to be different because it's a custom build. But like, from now on, I really want to stop using green and just use white and just illuminate them normally, if that makes any sense. But anyway, like I said, if you find them, that screw is fallen somewhere, I think. Oh, no, that's fallen. Just put them back on and screw it down so you don't lose them. That way you always have them with it. Mine, there it is. I have a funny feeling I got stuck on that ledge. So, my one, I will, now I can put this off to the side. So now we have a little bit more room. Not too much, but a little bit more. Now to adjust myself, because now here comes the better part. Is getting this one off. Now, it's actually the exact same. The only difference is you have 2 extra wires that go there, and you go all the way to the top, and that is for the voltage stabilizer. But in general, because you have the wires here for the wiper washer and the light switch, it's pretty compacted there, so there's not much room to get your hand in. You can even, like here, reach over, and you might be able to get to the screw, because I keep forgetting which side they're on. If they're like over here, or like down a bit here, or over this end. So actually, there it is. Look, I'll show you. See? So it's not down straight. So when I reached in, the first one I reached it was this one, and the other one was up the opposite corner. So it's the same here. So you have to sort of find one to find out where the other one is. Now, if I reach in though, I can slowly but surely do little small things like disconnect one of the lamps. Although to be honest, I don't think it's going to play ball. I think it's because they're from new. I think they're fitting in pretty good. Alright, so, oh, I found one. Down the bottom left, so the other one must be up this end. So I might be able to get it from up here. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. All depends how the wiring is sitting. So, and again, don't be too worried about catching it. If it falls on the carpet, it falls on the carpet, you can always get it back. There's also a ground strap that goes over them, in case you feel it. Just the ground wire goes over them. So I'm going to reach in here so you can get to it from this end. Yep. And again, I wouldn't put it on this way because it's just easier to unwind it and let it fall. This is pretty much the hardest part. Everything else is straightforward after that. Bulb is oh, the bulb's any good. Oh, it's long. It's going on for ages. All right, managed to save that one. Down it went. Now I want to get to the RPM. Oh, sorry, the speedo. That's the next one I want to get, because that's the only thing that will stop it from allowing it to come out. You might have to find different ways of getting in there to do this. Wasn't in too good. Wasn't barely in there. So again, once you have them on, you can get it out. Again, push it and always hold the board. And then once we have it out, we can disconnect our cables. Just watch out as well. When you rotate, you don't scratch the board with this. Now, sorry, the other cable we have is the reset. So if you reach down the bottom, there's a bigger screw. There's no way she's not coming off here. Now this one here, you can see it's, sorry, this was spinning on me, because I'm going to put these back on so I don't lose them. You'll find most of the gauges, if you take it off, won't have this connected. It's a sort of a push fit clip in, but it's one of those fittings that unless you take the whole thing apart, you can't get out. It's like because you'll never get at it to pull out. If you pull it out, you're going to break it. You'll do that all day long. So if you want to actually remove this, you have to physically take the gauge apart and get to the inside and squeeze it and push it back outwards. So it's a one-time fit. Most people don't even put them back in because you don't reset. Excuse me. You don't reset the mileage. Now the mileage on this says 2,985. However, I don't know if you can see, but the numbers look like they're going up and down. So to me, when I see that, it means it's gone right through. I doubt there's only 2,985. It's possible. If it is, it must be the lowest mileage original cars I've come across. But judging by what I'm seeing, don't get me wrong, the engine doesn't show much much on it at all. So like, I'll have to find out if that's general mileage or if he drove it a lot when he first got it. Because he could have clocked up 5,000 miles of driving it home from the US. Oh, and a little update on that, and I know I got the story a little wrong. Yes, he was in the US and bought in the US and brought it back to Canada. I know in the video earlier on I said I wasn't sure which mountain range he was going through. Because I did get the story, and it's only afterwards I realised what I said is that he was in the US. That's where he was. I'm not sure what mountain range in the US, but yes, he did bring it home, and it's been here since. So it was originally from the USA. So if we look up, I can get the records of when this car got shipped here. If you go to the British Heritage Museum and go online and get the search, you'll see where it came from. So that's these two out, and the pieces are on the floor again. So I'm going to find them. Put them on so we don't lose them. Now what we'll do is most likely I'll change the voltage stabilizer. Even though I doubt there's anything wrong with it, but after so many years you can see it's a bit rusty out, we're going to change that for a new one, which will probably last a lot less than this was original one. Let's face it, the parts we get now are not great. Now, we have that done. That's actually where we really excel now on taking this off. After that, we can reach in and actually just start taking wiring off. So we can disconnect the light switch. And I don't feel that plastic on it. I don't feel it. I'm feeling the metal and I don't feel the plastic, so I'm thinking she might be just okay, just stuck to the wood itself. I'll find out. Now, we're going to have to start taking off this knob. And how we do that is on the side of it, there's a hole. It's a little hole and spring loaded. There's this little spring loaded button in there. So, let me show you. I have to get the camera down now to do this. Sorry for the hand in the way. So, on the side of it you can see there's a little button. Right here. That's a little spring-loaded button. Although it doesn't seem very spring-loaded anymore. And all it does is that goes into a little hole that's on the side of the knob itself. So if you ever find a knob is not sitting right or is completely wrong, you can redo that hole to turn it if it's in the wrong spot. But to be honest, it's not going to achieve anything because it's shaped. But you can try it. They never sit right anyway. Now that's out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same tool I had, which is it's a Princess Auto tool. I say Princess Auto, that's where I get them from. This is a pointy one. And all I'm doing is there's grooves here on the bezel, and I'm just gripping that and unscrewing it, and it will fall in backwards. So let me go put the camera back up again. I apologise if I'm in the way of it. Okay. Now, so hopefully you can see there. Actually pretty loose. So this one, it's a bezel that goes through. The actual unit itself fits into a hole that's in the metal. It's shaped for it. So there's a little like tab that sticks up and it stops it rotating. But, so once the bezel is off, the wiper motor will literally slide out and you can literally let it fall down. Again, I always put the bezel back on it so I don't lose it. Draw the same bezel, but you can't lose them. Once we have that, then now we can actually start taking the bulbs out. So we have the bulbs, pop the bulb out the wiper washer. We can pop the bulb out the top of the hazard. So this one you have a bit more leniency to pull the wire. Ideally, if you don't have to, don't do it. Now, from here, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the dash. Sorry, the glove box. So we'll pop open the glove box. Just want to open. Do this nice and easy. There we go. Now, all I need to do is disconnect where it holds on. You have two choices. You can take the bottom of the top end of it, where it holds onto the door. Now, again, I'm going to put the screws back into the door so I don't lose them. Don't need to put them in too far because you don't go all the way in anyway. So now that's off. Now I can actually take off the 5 screws. I was expecting to see a bit of a better colour change behind this. Like, because they hide the original board to see the original shade of walnut, but I think they're not a tight fit, so the same oxygen gets in there and it burns off. Now, people, has an interesting one, and people have noticed, they'll say that it's a teak dashboard. Well, it's not. It was never teak to begin with. It's still walnut. Whether they change the style of walnut, like the whether it's American walnut or so on and so forth, is one thing. But all it is just burned. It's just the lacquer that you used at the time. Obviously, it's just worn it and changed it to a shade. It was never this bright to begin with. Because it's smooth and you can see the crack in it. That's just from outside in the sun. So, we may end up changing the board. We'll see. Only because I think that I can see some cracks here where it's going. It's cracking here. I think a piece chipped off here. I think just because it hasn't been changed. You know what? Now that's starting to come off. Now it's going to chip away. And it's going to be like every other board that's been on and off a few times. It's going to show where it's been on and off. So now with the 5 screws out, now I can actually pull it towards me, believe it or not. Now it's ready to move forward. Okay. So what's going to hold it on now is all the wiring here, and most importantly is the oil pressure line that comes here. So we do have enough room to pull it out in place, so obviously the more, don't be afraid to give it a bit of a pull, because it's basically just the bulbs, first of all, to hold it. Sorry, my hands in the way. Trying to get this bulb out. It's just the way the wire is. There you go. Oh, the bulb has gone itself. No wonder they won't come out. More. There you go. Now I got a good. Obviously, the top bulbs is shorter in the way of the distance because all the wire is the same length. So, and all these should be just spade connectors all the way through. This is actually loose. So maybe somebody changed this at some point. Wire on the retro status. Get a little stuck. Now, all I'm down to is this. So I just have to remove the oil line, so I have to actually pop out and grab a connection for that. Sorry, I had to move the camera. I have to go grab a little adjustable for it. Remember what size it is. Sorry, I'm in the way of the camera. It was just enough that I couldn't turn it by hand, but just the slightest little movement and I was able to disconnect it. And that's it. Voila! One dashboard removed. So as I said, we don't have to take all the gauges off the back, and they should be fitted prior to it going in. And you can see where the wiring is. I don't know if you can see this. I'll show you now. There's a decent bit of room to move it. It's putting it back on can be a bit of a challenge. So let me show you. Sorry to move the camera again. I should just start editing this and taking some of this stuff out. So you can see now the wiring. These are all the wiring for the middle. You can see like that's a blown bulb. That bulb had disintegrated. All the wiring is pretty dusty, but original. And you can see for the space in there, like there's not too much, but it's not too bad. So here, usually on here, that's where the switch goes through. There's usually a plastic in the back. So I have a funny feeling somebody might have changed it at some point. Obviously, you don't need to remove the loofahs. They stay where they are. And this can stay exactly as is now. So obviously, we'll disconnect this one here, and we have to pull the glove box out. To do the wiring harness, we're going to take the glove box out. It's a shame. I don't like doing it. You don't get me wrong. I can get around it. I can actually squeeze around it. I might try, because it can be a bit of a pain to get that back out and get it back in. As long as it comes out okay, it'll go in okay. But I'd rather just leave it if possible. So yeah. Now the screws you took out, if you don't want to remove them, or don't lose them, put them back in. You just screw in and just screw them into the metal, so that way you don't lose them. Because they're a particular sort of, they have a little bezel on them as well, and they're shaped. So, but yeah, that's it. There's the dashboard off. So it's not that bad to take off. It really isn't. Putting it back on is literally the reverse. And you'll see that when we go to put it back on. We'll connect everything up here. I know you can see my, look, there I am. I'm up on the TV. I have that so I can see where I'm looking. Because I can't see the camera. So that's my reference to where I'm looking, so I can see myself. When we put it back in, we'll do the same thing. We'll have all the wiring, we'll connect it all to the dashboard and then we'll pull it back in and connect that, and we'll do the same reverse. We'll connect all these up, connect up the speedo, and then your tack will be the last one to go on. So I'd have to see if we're going to replace this dashboard. There's nothing wrong with that one, but while it's off, that's that thing. It's off. Is it worth replacing? It's 50 years old. There's no damage to it, but it's starting to show fatigue. So is it worth doing it now? We'll see. Anyway, yeah, I appreciate you watching this part of the video, and I hope it was helpful for. Sorry, I'm holding it. I hope it was helpful for removing the dashboard and cleared up any way of how easy it is to actually remove it and how simple. Like I said, if you look at the time, I'd say, like I said, it takes you literally between 5 and 10 minutes to remove that board, and it should take you literally 5 or 10 minutes to put it back on by right. Give or take 5 minutes. Like I said, you'd be upside down putting this gauge back in, because you can't just reach in. You could, don't get me wrong, you can, but no, you. All right, that's it for this part. And join me in the next part, and we're going to start actually removing all the wiring harnesses here. We'll have to take off the carpet from down here and disconnect the joint, and then we can take all the front off. And then we'll work on removing the rear, hopefully without taking the seat off. So we'll swap out the rear end on that. Yeah, that's it. Okay, appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and see you next part.